This story is about a kid who comes from a very wealthy family that is not willing to give him anything.
What I've heard
Yes.
is you can get more money out of investing in real estate than the traditional stock market, potentially.
I'm gonna share this story and you
Okay.
could see how this one kid and his family was really able to map out his entire retirement without being super smart, without having a high paying job, without investing in stocks or anything, just very low key. Before going to college, they got a small little condo next to the university. So instead of dorming, he lived there. There were 2 extra rooms. He was able to rent it out to 2 of his classmates. And then once he got his first job, he didn't sell the condo. He now rented out all 3 rooms. And by then, 4 years later, the rent was far more than his mortgage payment. Then he was able to actually cover half of the new mortgage expense for the new house. The new house he purchased with a friend for 4 years, so the down payment wasn't that much. So he was able to put in a little bit of life savings, and then his friend put in, and then they bought a new little condo. It's also a condo, not a house yet, and then they lived there for about 4 to 5 years. And then the next house, he got married, bought a place with his wife. His wife was put down some down payment. He put down some down payment. The rent from the condo from his university and his second condo with his friend was able to now also cover the majority of his third house. And then after 4 years of marriage, they bought another house once they started having more kids. Each step of the way, basically is just slowly upgrading without having to sell, right? And then there's always additional rental income to do that. From seeing that, I was shocked. By the age of 30, essentially, he has his retirement already. Because in the next 30 years, he doesn't have a mortgage because his other property is paying for his mortgage.
Right.
He's continuously living at his new house that he's already super happy with. So he doesn't need some crazy investment plan.
It just makes me think like the seeds that are planted. It's like what we're exposed to. Like that's what he was exposed to, that's the seed that was planted, and that's the trajectory he went on. And I think that's why it's so cool to hear stories, is because you're getting those seeds planted. And the more seeds, then the more like knowledge and wisdom. Because if you're only given one, hopefully it works out, you know?
Right.
But it's really interesting to see all the different ways you can go with what you're given, in this instance by his family.
This story is about a kid who comes from a very wealthy family that is not willing to give him anything because they don't think he's gonna do anything with it. And I was doing this estate planning for the family, and in preparing their will and trust, they said he cannot inherit anything until he reaches 60. The family wanted me to help him to also come up with a plan to reach 60. The kid also is just very chill. He has everything he wants already. He just wants to play video games. So his main objective is just to make it there comfortably.
Get to 60.
This kid just needs some spending money till 60.
What a problem.
What a problem. Luckily, when we're planning things out, his expenses are not high. So his goal is to work just a $40,000 salary, and then he's able to save up $500,000 in however long it takes for him to save that up and invest it. And then once he hits that $500,000 mark, then based on the 4% rule, he will be able to get about $20,000 in dividends every single year. That will sustain his spending funds. Because he has a house, he has everything else. The interesting thing about this story is that everybody comes from different backgrounds. But if the truth is, there is a bunch of wealth that will be inherited. If you don't factor that into your retirement planning, then you're working super hard and sacrificing your health, then it might not be the right plan. Factor in what your family will give you, factor in what you need to get there, and make that part of the equation.
If you're living comfortably now, you're gonna be living comfortably then. What we've talked about earlier of like, well, you have to actually picture your retirement. Because if you picture blowing money everywhere, then sure, yeah. But if you kind of picture what you're doing today, like how much does that actually cost?
And in any financial advice book or YouTube channel, they're always gonna tell you cutting expenses is one of the major things that you can do. Now, that's not gonna be the best way to become wealthy, but it is a huge factor. And for him, luckily, he doesn't have these crazy ambitions to do and spend a lot of money. He just enjoys his video games.
Yeah, what do you enjoy?
Exactly.
And is it wildly expensive?
Most people, when they think life insurance, they think it's fraud, it's a scheme, it's terrible, and all that. This is a story where this guy, he didn't purchase a lot of real estate. He just purchased his one humble house, and he didn't invest in a lot of stocks. But what he did do that I found extremely interesting was that he bought a lot of life insurance. And the reason why he bought life insurance is because he didn't come from money. His parents didn't have a lot. He married young. He also had children, and everything depended on him. And that's a very stressful place to be in when you're in your early 20s. If anything were to happen to him, everybody would be well taken care of. His legacy would be secure. And also, you're able to withdraw early on to take care of his medical expenses later on in his life. When he gets his check, right, part of it just goes for life insurance, and he's able to spend the rest. Now he has the peace of mind. He doesn't have to worry about anything. His entire family, everybody's taken care of. If he dies tomorrow, they will be rich and they can continue their life. Sure, it's not some crazy investment, but he's able to live comfortably and at peace, which is the most important thing to him. He would have made way more if he had invested elsewhere. Right. But he is very happy with the decision he made.
And that's what matters.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting to hear about all the different choices that people make. I mean, we're not guaranteed and tomorrow. So it's like, would you rather stress about having enough money for a day that might never come, or by the time it comes, you don't even care because you're like, like other circumstances, or within reason, enjoy today because that's what you have. So worry, I kind of link in my mind to comparison in that quote where comparison's the thief of joy. And so worry can really rob us in every area of our life. What's a better way to really combat worry and have peace of mind?
In my experience, being able to write down your worry and then being able to clearly identify it and analyze it is so helpful. I go through probably 4 to 5 journals a year. If I'm worried about something, sometimes just writing that sentence out on a piece of paper, like I'm worried about this thing. I see it on paper, it's a problem I have to attack. And then I start analyzing it. Well, why am I worried about it? What's the worst that can happen? And oftentimes within 20 minutes of writing out that problem, I've already solved it and I'm not worried about it anymore. So 20 minutes of journaling can make something that's debilitating for weeks and weeks and weeks go away.
I feel that I know it would help. It's just getting over that, not wanting to look at the problem, or not wanting to be self-examined too closely. Did you ever experience any sort of hesitation confronting the problem by writing it down and seeing it on paper, and attacking it head on? Sometimes
the hardest part is articulating what is it that you're worried about. And sometimes we subconsciously do not want to discover our own inefficiency. Sometimes a worry is nagging in your mind and your heart and you can't get it out. And so analyzing it on paper in 20 minutes, and if 20 minutes doesn't work, give yourself 3 hours. It would probably make it better.
How can we attain happiness, and not just for a moment, right? How can we truly be happy?
So when I was thinking about this particular topic, I didn't really get to one magical answer. But what I did find is that there's a way to improve your mood significantly. And if your mood is better, then chances are you're much happier.